how do you feel about gang violence?
It's wrong.
Oh, yeah, wrong. So wrong. It depends where you're coming from. Because gang violence can mean defending yourself, and gang violence can mean, like, hurting someone else.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a lot of people who have witnessed a crime where someone's used a weapon.
In 2007, 28 young people were killed as a result of violent crime on the streets of London, and the number of young people convicted nationally for carrying weapons has doubled in the past decade.
Got jumped coming from Lewisham, and I got beat up about 5 or 6 boys.
2 people fighting, and one of them was losing, so they picked up a weapon and wrapped them around the head.
My friend's cousin got stabbed and shot, so...
This is always going to be with us. I don't know how we're going to solve this situation, gang wars and all sorts.
This programme looks at the situation in London to find out what schools, governments and the wider community can do to tackle the negative effects of gang culture.
The Violent Crime Action Plan lays out for what the government is going to do over the next, in particular the next 3 years with respect to violent crime. We're going to have weapons awareness programmes, and we're going to deliver that to over 1 million children in schools across the country.
Many government initiatives have been put in place to tackle the problem of violence perpetrated by gangs.
We have to be very careful about words like gangs, but the term gang has connotations today which are much more serious, which suggests a hierarchy, a code of behaviour, an initiation right, the carrying of weapons, the use of violence, and so on and so forth.
If you was to say gang to someone these days now, they'll think, wow, hoodies, tracksuit, that whatever you're wearing, what your trousers you're wearing is halfway down your backside kind of thing. That is, you know, these are the kind of labels that's associated to what is deemed as a gang.
Try and think about what you really mean by a gangster. Yeah.
Like when John said a gangster, like what he said, a group of you, it doesn't mean you're a gangster. It means when you're a gangster, you have to be carrying something, and like when you're busting low batty or like wearing your hat back and wearing like...
Ah, I've got a hoodie. I sometimes wear a hoodie, and if it's really cold, I'll put my hood up. Does that make me a gangster?
No.
Does it?
When you hear gang, you automatically think negative. You don't think of a positive gang. So in that sense, like that's where the complications are happening. Like, I mean, the difference between us as a gang and socialising, we're not doing anything wrong, we're just socialising. The difference between the negative gangers, they actually go out and do something to harm society or to do something to someone. There's a big difference.
I think gangs are a real part of young people's lives in London today. The media have a certain slant on it all, which may not be the same as their slant on it all, which is again something that I'm really keen to get out, to learn more myself about what their views are on all this. But I do think it is something that is a reality.
Identifying precisely who's involved in negative gangs is complicated, but the fact remains that peer-to-peer violence is a concern for many young people, and it is an issue that schools have to address. Tricia Jaff is head teacher of Kidbrooke School in South East London.
Kidbrooke's a school which is in the London Borough of Greenwich, and it actually has quite high social need, with large numbers of youngsters who don't live in affluent housing and who have to face all the kinds of issues that young people have to face in inner city areas.
The school is taking the lead by asking its Year 11 students to look into their own views on negative gangs in their latest citizenship project.
Now, these statements are things that you have all come up with, either during discussions or you've written down on your bits of paper that I've looked at in your folders, and they're all reasons why people may get involved in gangs. and they're all things you've come up with. What I want you to do is to read them and look at them and then rank them in a particular order that you think of importance.
Over last year, we began to develop a policy and change the way in which we were delivering everything that we do in terms of the wider aspects of engaging young people in thinking about the world and their lives and their role within it. And we appointed Jim Gordon, who came from a slightly different route back into teaching. He'd been working on Outward Bound activities and the relationship of Outward Bound with engagement of young people who may be disaffected.
Okay, so which one would go first? What do you think which one would go first?
Probably start with Gordon.
No. Gordon? No. No, that don't even exist, man.
Reputation.
Reputation?
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah, that's the first thing, innit? Teenagers,
The aims of the project we're doing with the Year 11s is really giving them the opportunity to examine some issues around youth crime and gangs happening in London. Really come from a viewpoint that would say when we're looking at this kind of issues, it's no good teachers or anyone coming and trying to preach and tell the students this is how it is. What we're trying to do is create a learning environment where they can reflect on these issues.
It's just they want to get big. It's nothing else about all the government crap. It's just they want to be big. They want money and be known. That's it.
He's getting so
It is. It's frustrating me. Yeah. They just want to be big. They want to be bad man.
Why though?
When not all of them are not. When they get caught slipping on their own, then they'll see about bad man.
Yeah. Why do they want to be big? Why do they want to be known? Why do they want to be
So people can't. People think. Yeah. So they're scared.
So then
Yeah,
they
for
intimidate
idiots.
other people.
Because the first thing they always say, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And if you say no, they're like, let me introduce myself. My name is... And they say,
It's not about
money
groups
is
no more.
all evil.
Everyone's got their own
My
thing
dad always
starting.
says it to me.
Some black people, like, they think that policemen don't treat them well when they stop and search them, because sometimes they actually look at how the person looks. If you're black, they actually stop you and search you, but if you're white, they don't stop you. So this really causes the black people to be in gangs, and they they think we're like this, they think blacks are like this, so let us show them that we're like that.
There are real risks that are out there. There are young people who have, for a host of reasons, become a part of very antisocial behaviour that moves into the kind of gangs and weapons element. Thankfully, a very small number, but enough to create a sense of lack of safety.
What we're going to do is we're going to listen to each table. They're going to give you top three and try and explain why they've put them there.
Our first one is deprivation. If you live in a poor environment, in an environment that you can hardly, your mum can hardly provide for you, then what's the point of living? That's what some people think of life, innit?
You need a good reputation.
Yeah,
If you don't have no reputation, people are gonna take you. They're gonna be take you for an idiot, basically.
They think that 50 Cent is their role model because of what he does. He's a famous guy, he sings, yeah, but it's just that because he's famous and he's been in gangs or something like that, and he's been shot 9 times, they think that is cool, and they think that they're stronger. Being stronger is cool.
These discussions pave the way for the multimedia projects which the students are preparing about their impressions of gangs. Kidbrooke's status as an arts and media college means they're encouraged to think about different ways of expressing their opinions.
So there's a big task now. You've got some ideas there. You're going to have to work out what is your presentation going to look like. And remember, it's really open. I'm not going to say it has to be a certain way. A lot of them are using these digital blue cameras that we've brought in, which are kind of very basic cameras that allow them to go home, film what's happening in their area maybe, talk to other people about the issues.
Jim's idea behind this approach is to make the project as accessible as possible to his Year 11s.
Have you ever been attacked?
Yeah. I got jumped coming from Lewisham, and I got beat up about 5 or 6 boys.
Boys?
Yeah.
Charlie, how do you feel about gang violence?
I think it's pointless and unnecessary. Yeah, it's just stupid, a waste of time, because we should be positive and young, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think everyone understands the idea of the Big Brother diary room now, for example. YouTube, things like that. They're watching this stuff all the time, and so I think it's a medium they understand and it engages them.
Why do you think people join gangs? What's your opinion?
I think mostly for reputation and to kind of like stick together, because you know there's like bear gangs and kind of like, you know, if one's going to fight then they're all going to jump in, you all have each other's backs, you're buddies.
When you actually hand a camera to a child and you get them to develop their thinking and to create an image which reflects their beliefs, and they're also, if they're working in teams, they're having to talk collectively.
Gun crime now these days, isn't it? It's a big problem.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do about it?
It's not.
What can Gordon Brown do about it? No. It's just the gun culture now, isn't it?
Personally, yeah, I don't think there's no need to shoot someone. Like you got to look at the bigger picture. Yeah? That is someone's son or daughter, yeah, and then some other kid is just taking their life, and you got no right to be taking someone else's life, especially with a gun. Like a knife is one thing, but a gun, yeah, there's really no need for that. Like,
even knife is very lethal as well.
I hope that the students will learn or get the chance to examine some assumptions they may make and examine some behaviours they may get involved in without really thinking about the consequences or why they behave in a certain way. That's one of the big things I'm hoping they're going to get out of this.
Poverty is a big issue as well. Like, there's not enough jobs out there for people to work and get off the streets. So they'll think of the easier solution. They'll be thinking, no, that.
Yeah, so the only way I can make money is drugs. And to get drugs, you have to be in a gang or something.
This is not the slums, yeah. But this is South East London. It's nothing special, yeah. So the government's thinking, well, I don't really care about that little part. Like looking at the posher areas of London, just keeping them all happy. The people with like more wealthy and more money and stuff. And down here, like, don't really let them kill themselves if that's what they want to do. He's not really paying much attention.
But even if these projects help young people to think carefully about their opinions, can they actually make a difference to their lives?
I think the level, again, of reflection and the way that some of the students have been able to articulate their feelings and their viewpoints on it has been fantastic, and I think we've had some great discussions that everyone's learnt from.
Has anyone ever seen someone using a kind of weapon or any kind of weapon in an incident outside on the estate or anywhere? Let's just see. Let's have a look how many hands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a lot of people who have witnessed a crime where someone's used a weapon.
I think one of the real concerns that we have about youth crime and youth crime with respect to violence is that there's no doubt that the age at which some young people are now involved is much younger than it was. If you look at some of the victims of knife crime, if you look at some of the victims of gun crime, they are much younger than they were even just a few years ago.
I think one of the problems as well is that some of the young people that are in them areas that have gang activity going on, negative gang activity, some of them have brothers or sisters or people older that are involved in it as well. So they might see that as a role model to them. So they might know what the right thing is to do, but because they see someone, maybe their brother or someone, maybe a friend, doing that they really look up to, they will still choose to take that road instead of knowing what the right thing is to do.
So how can schools teach young people to make the right choices about negative gang behaviour at an early age? Louise Nichols is on the front line of these issues as head teacher of Kingsmead School in Hackney, East London.
Crime wouldn't come into the curriculum until, so we start with, in the earlier years, they will meet people who help them, which might be a policeman or a fireman or a nurse or whatever. By the time they're reaching the end of Key Stage 2, then we start to put into place things that help them keep safe. And particularly in an area like this, we see that as a high priority because the children are coming across things to do with gang wars.
Well, I think that they carry their gang because, like, if they're in something and people gang up on them, they have a gang to keep their back. But lots of people have friends, and gangsters, they think they're bigger of themselves because they have knives and guns.
One practical way of making children aware of the dangers of crime and encouraging good prevention work is seen to come from increased collaboration between schools and the police.
A lot of it is in the title, Safer School Partnership. It's about police working in partnership with schools. It revolves around the police and the school staff creating an environment in the school which is safer.
Right, okay, so the community officers came in, police officer came in, and they were talking to us about what? Who can tell me? What were they talking about? Okay, thank you, Otin.
Knife crime.
Knife crime, okay. What other street crimes can you tell me about? What other street crimes can you tell me about?
The Safer Schools team do make lots of contact with the school. They're very proactive in coming out and offering to do fun days and come in and talk to the children. I think it's a little bit ad hoc. For example, we've had some police come into school recently to talk about knife crime because there was an incident that happened with a Year 5 girl from another local school. We would have probably identified to them earlier that these things need to be part of, you know, a regular thing they talk about.
Your hands up. Who thinks it's wrong to carry a weapon around with them?
Maybe someone been threatened by a knife or anything. Maybe they feel frightened, so they might as well want to defend themselves.
Okay, so do you think carrying a weapon around is a good means of defence?
Only if you're going to use it as defence for yourself. But if it's just to you stabbing someone, say for like criminal things, for like mobiles, things like that, no. But if you want to defend yourself...
Do you think that having a weapon is going to defend you?
Yeah.
Seriously? I'm not too sure about that.
From the earliest age, we need to be talking with children about that balance between respect between people and the danger of the implements they're carrying, and helping children to avoid getting into confrontations, helping children to find other methods than confrontation, showing them how you argue, how you debate, how you make your point, and showing them properly how to resolve conflict.
Okay, and what do you think?
I think fighting's really silly because they do it for nothing. Just because he's getting rude, they start a fight for nothing. You can get rude, but it doesn't mean that to start a fight. It means like you can have an argument, but not a fight with metal poles. No.
But a large portion of the approach to crime prevention has to do with the culture of the school as a whole, brought about by its positive policies of encouraging correct behaviour throughout.
We have a system in school which is called Stay on Green, which is to reinforce positive behaviour. So every child in the school, the aim is that they all stay on green. If they make a mistake, if they do something wrong, the teacher will warn them and put them onto a blue card, which means is quite a visual thing that happens in the classroom. So the child knows they've done something wrong and they've got a chance to work their way back to green. It's all about positives. It's all about trying to say this is the right thing to do and not dwelling on the negatives and not dwelling on where somebody has possibly done something wrong. That has a knock-on effect for children as they grow older, which is that we are asking them to make the right choices.
Who are the most valuable people to involve in a solution to the challenges facing young people in urban communities today?
For some of the young people that we're working with in the schools, it's a situation that they can't escape out of because it's around them. They live in areas where gangs do, negative gangs do exist, do you know what I mean? It's got so serious now that young people are involved in gangs sometimes and it's against their wills. It's like you have to get in there. If you don't get involved in this gang, then really it's your life is at stake.
Simon and Yomi are youth workers for a nationwide charity called Crime Concern, who work with the Kickstart Youth Inclusion Programme in South London.
We have a programme called the Circle Programme. It runs for 6 weeks. So basically, like, we'll work with Year 7s and Year 8 students. The programme starts off very softly. We don't get too deep into anything. But as the programme goes on, we start getting into the serious issues of knife crime and the consequences.
At Kidbrooke Secondary School, they've brought in Dr. Les Henry, who uses his own experience to bring home the serious issues and consequences of gang culture.
You lot are Year 11, that means you're halfway out of school, yeah? Yes, you are, because even if you come back for sixth form, you're treated as a college student, yes? Do you have to wear school uniform? No. Right, so you're treated as a college student, means you're in a real wide world. That means you're going to get a very rude awakening when people stop treating you as children and expect certain things from you. I always try and say to them, you know, you need to be aware of where you are. You're at a crucial stage in your life now, because what you do in these exams will determine your next step. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing, you've got a plan of what you want to do, and avoid some of the crazy stuff. When we're young, you know, we're wild, whatever. That's expected. But some of the crazy things they're into, and when you actually speak to them and they tell you why they're into things like that, it's ridiculous. And someone needs to just stand up and point it out to them.
Teachers only can do so much. They only can go to a certain level, then that's it. They can't go any further. To have different organisations come into their schools to do different workshops, it gives the opportunity for young people to see things from a different perspective, not just their teacher all the time, because they're only going to take so much input from their teacher. But if they got different people coming in all the time, it's almost exciting to them, because they're curious, innit? And young people are curious. They want to know what things are. They want to know how that works and how do I do that, or how do I get involved in this? So it's a key. It needs to be done.
Most of the young people we do work with, and I'm talking about, well, I don't know if I'd call them proper gangsters, but the ones who are there. So they'll be in and out of prison or in and out of court. And most of them don't expect to live beyond 25. And I'll tell you something else. Most of the young people that we work with don't consider themselves to belong to gangs. Seriously. They say they're business people. So is a gangster a businessman or businesswoman? I was schooled at a comprehensive school, grew up in this area. I know South East London like the back of my hand. So I know that when they recognise that I'm familiar, and plus I never put on the airs and graces, I'm just how I am. So when I do the sessions with them, I say to them, look, you can achieve and be normal. You can achieve and just be, it's just me.
Myself and Yomi have had experience of things like this, so it's not rocket science to us. Like, we know where they're coming from, we know what kind of struggles they're going through. So it's more easier for them to open up to us and be able to say certain things where, as a teacher, they'll just close up and put their barriers up. So maybe that's why they listen to us, because they know that we've come from similar backgrounds maybe, and we have a bigger understanding than maybe a teacher may have.
Some of them act stupid. They act completely stupid, like they ain't got any sense. And as I said, I can't really condemn them, because when I was 15, I got kicked out of school for being stupid. So the point is, and the point that I'm trying to make is, you should try to do your best to not be like that. Do you know, a young man said to me, he came with his, am I allowed to say arse? He had his arse hanging out, as usual, yeah? Came up to me after one of my sessions, and he said to me, Dr. Les, I keep getting stopped by the police, yeah? And I said to him, look at you. Arse hanging out, hoodie on inside, gloves. I said, you look like you're out to rob someone when you get your trousers up. He said to me, what can I do? I said, you know the best thing you can do? Pull your pants up, shine your shoes, and take the damn hood off, especially when you're inside.
Dr. Les Henry is quite an expert in this field. He has a depth of knowledge that I don't possess about these issues that he can talk to the students around. So bringing people from the outside can increase the relevance, but also just increase the depth of knowledge that the students can access.
I know the teacher, that maths teacher, that English teacher will be brilliant at the subject that they're teaching, but if he was to go to the English teacher and say, okay, you need to then start talking to them about knives and start talking to them about this and that, as well as the teacher might be able to do that, it's not going to be to the core. It can't be a circle program. It can't be any other kind of knife crime project that's out there that's doing something. It won't be 100%. And even the teachers themselves won't feel that competent to deliver.
It's laudable when you've got schools like this doing projects like this, because at least they're going into the community and saying, we've got to tackle this stuff.
It's incredibly important that schools have good relationships with other agencies, but also that other agencies work with schools to help them deliver the support that sometimes young people need.
So what chance do schools have in rising to the challenge of turning around the lives of young people today?
Nothing beats the influence of society upon these children, and some of the images that are thrown at children these days are very, very difficult for schools to beat.
It's a sad fact that a lot of young people now come from highly fragmented families where they don't have positive role models and learning experiences within their own family, and where we have to look for other elements, and it's quite natural that the school is being looked to try and fill that void.
We could just say we're only about education, we're only about them coming in and teaching them and then they go home, and that's not our problem. But actually, as a responsible role in the community, as a hub for this community, we see it as very much our responsibility to make sure our children are ready to be citizens of this century. You know, they can't be left to make it up as they go along. They need guidance. I do think schools are somehow on their own a bit with that. I think we need more support in terms of resources, and we need better community working with other agencies.
There's so many agencies that are like backs towards each other, isolation, so many projects. I know so many different projects that work in isolation when really it doesn't need to, and it makes me question why is it that's happening. I would love for all of us to just come together and just say, okay, this is what we're doing right now, and it will be wicked for everyone just to contribute and take part and say, wow, let's make a move.
We need to have all the organisations working in a structured and organised and coordinated way. People actually recognising that schools, the council, the police, the youth services, the youth offending team, all of the different people who are involved have a vested interest in working together to address the issues of young people who don't believe that they have a future.